following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Welcome, one and all, to the iRacing Esports Network this Wednesday night, the 15th of August, 2018. We are V8s Online, and this, once again, is the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia, the premier GT3 series in the Oz NZ Sim Sphere. Tonight, we are at Laguna, Seca, for what will surely be a scintillating race as usual in this series. My name is Reese Gardner, and joining me in the commentary box, once again, Brock Cat-Eye. Brock, we've done this so many times before, but we still get excited for this series.
Yeah, g'day everyone. Good to be back again. And yeah, well, they've put on some great racing for us in the last few rounds and again in the last couple of seasons. So every race is just a different package of what's getting thrown at us in terms of who's where and what car's best at different tracks, as we've spoken about before. All the GT3 cars have different strengths and weaknesses. So we were just discussing before the broadcast, this might be a more Mercedes-centric track because of the fact that Mercedes have that big engine under them. And with that acceleration focus around this track, particularly out of some of the sharper corners, the Mercedes might shine a little bit more than the likes of the Audi that we've seen in previous rounds.
Yeah, it certainly should, and that's really brought home by the amount of Mercedes that are in the top 15. The actual top two are Mercedes, Luis Polo Gallon and Anthony Winkelmann. Of course, we got John Peasneck in that McLaren, repping the hard-to-drive cars. But we'll go through the standings proper once we tick into the race session. The qualifying standings, I should clarify. The championship standings, though, Brock, they are certainly something to look at. We have got John Peasneck still in the lead of the championship, but not by a big margin. Only 73 points back to Ross Rizzo, and they're the only two drivers over 1,000 points. Definitely looking close up the front.
Yeah, well, that's really good to see. And just to point out as well, the top 10, being back to Alex J. John there, are still within a race win's worth of points. So if any of these guys in the top 10 have a bad race and one of these guys gets a top 10, they're going to just skyrocket themselves up. We saw Peasneck had a bad race at Montreal, and he's lucky he's still up the top here now. But it's going to be interesting to see how this all pans out. Rizzo, very consistent and very strong as a driver. He knows how to get results that sometimes look impossible. We've got Trent Thomas as well, very similar to Rizzo. He's there or thereabouts every race, and maybe not getting the wins all the time, but he finishes, and that's the main thing. So what we need to see from Peasneck, I think, is that consistency coming out. The McLaren's obviously a harder car to drive, like you touched on before. He's representing that sort of hard-to-drive community there. So I'll be interested to see. He's starting out a third tonight. If he can get a good start, he'll be able to maximise the points gain. And Ross Rizzo isn't too far behind him as well in the standings. In the qualifying standings. He's only a few spots behind. So a bad start this race tonight could mean that he'll lose some points. So it's all really on for young and old at the moment, considering we are only 4 rounds in.
Yeah, certainly. It is only round 4 of the championship. We've got a fair ways to go, but we come to a split sprint event format here at Mazda Raceway Laguna Seca. The first race is going to be a mere 20 minutes in length. So around a track like Laguna Seca, I mean, it's a really short track, 3.6 kilometers long, only 11 turns, and all of them flow right into each other in some way. But it's also quite a narrow one, and lines through certain corners, particularly up the top of the circuit, coming up to the corkscrew, it's difficult to put a move on a car there. And with a race length of only 20 minutes, the pressure will definitely be on to make those moves if there are drivers who have had a bad qualifying or they have a bad first lap, which is easily possible coming into the Andretti hairpin turn 2.
Yeah, that's it. So we're having a discussion with a couple of the guys before the broadcast, just saying that the first half of the track is a little bit wider and a little bit more open for moves than the second half of the track. And like you mentioned, you've got that sort of left-hand kink that leads up the hill into the corkscrew where John Peasnick is just coming through now. And through that section of the track, it really is one line only. And even coming out in the fast left-hander after the corkscrew, again, one line only. If guys want to put a move on there, they better make sure that it's going to stick. Otherwise, we could see incidents. We saw incidents in V8 Scops as well in Split 1 of people going up the inside of the corkscrew and the person on the outside got fired off into the dirt. So don't want to see that tonight, but these guys have been racing with each other for a few rounds now and hopefully have a bit of a gauge of how each driver reacts to having a move put on them, and we can see a nice clean race here tonight.
Yep, certainly. It's once again going to be all down to the drivers, though, because, you know, this track... Laguna Seca, super historic track in the United States and in world motorsport. And as you mentioned, that first half of the circuit is a lot wider. And interestingly, it is also the newer section of the circuit. The entirety of Sector 1 on this track, that's basically from the entry to the hairpin all the way to the turn going just up the hill before the bridge. That was added in the late 80s. The rest of the track, bar the last 2 turns, is pretty much as it was when it was first set up in the late 1950s. So this is definitely a track of its time, and it's provided quite a bit of entertainment all through the ages. But the race session is now here, Brock, and the grid is on your screen. Luis Polo Gallon, the winner of the last round at Watkins Glen, starts in pole position with Anthony Winkleman in second. John Peasnick starting in third place in the McLaren. Reese Gasol is starting in fourth place. Brad Watson taking fifth there with Zach Hanlon, the top Altus Esports machine, in sixth place. Dane Warren from All Star Motorsports in seventh. Bo Albert, Zach Hanlon's teammate, starting in eighth. Our series champion, reigning champion, and second in the standings, Ross Rizzo, starting from ninth, with the top 10 rounded out by Adam Briggs.
And in 11th place for All-Star Motorsports, we've got Thomas McMillan. 12th place from Trick Sim Sports, Martin Silvassi. 13th place is Scott Solosky. 14th, we have Brody Whitmore. 15th, Jackson Harlow. 16th, Matt Morris. 17th, Corey Ott. 18th, James Keane. 19th, Steve Jansen. And 20th is Dan King.
Mauricio Lastres for Geodesic Racing starting in 21st position, with John Schultz in 22nd. Jamie McKnight starting in 23rd for Evolution Racing Team, with Tommy Harradine in 24th, Cody Bircher 25th. Benjamin Johnson starting in 26th place, with Cameron Stubber in 27th. Gene Fiddies 28th, and rounding out the top 30 we have JC Richards and Matthew Huppets in car number 292.
And then rounding out the field here tonight, we have Daniel Cheney in 31st, Andrew Mogridge in 32nd, Xiao Wen Chen in 33rd, Craig Casper in 34th, and I believe Dylan Shepherd is our race control at the back there in 35th. So pretty packed field here tonight. We've got quite a few cars out there, so hopefully we don't see too much carnage. But something I just wanted to touch on quickly are the track conditions here, as the cars are now coming around, getting ready for the start of this race. We're coming through the first sector now. 37 degrees track temperature. That's not going to bode well for making surprise moves. We've seen in the last few races, it's actually been quite a cool track compared to what we see here. And around here, there's a large propensity to get dirt on your tyres because of where you can just run off. So through some of these higher speed corners, like we see now as the field comes up to the left-hand kink here, the guys out there are going to be really careful not to run too wide and to take it fairly slowly. They do have that warm-up for the hotter track temps, but fingers crossed we don't see anything too crazy on this first lap and the guys just get ready to, they acclimatise themselves with the track a bit more.
Yeah, certainly. We also got to mention that it is clear conditions there, so no clouds in sight to get in the way of the sun beating down on the racetrack, heating up that track surface. So maximum UV, that's going to result in not much grip out there for the drivers. And you're absolutely 100% right there, Brock. The track surrounded by sand and gravel. So if you go off, then certainly you'll be dragging quite a bit of dust onto the circuit. We'll see what happens at the end of the first lap, see what the guys end up bringing onto the track. Hopefully, once again, we see some really awesome battles. We've certainly seen that in this series so far. But now, Luis Paulo Gallon going very, very early as the green flag flies, and you can see already big pressure. Anthony Winkleman and Zach Hanlon, and John Peacenik was caught napping at that start. So now, goodness me, Zach Hanlon going right around the outside, attempting to anyway, but he's gone off, and that is a half spin, so he's going to be losing a bunch of positions as a result of that. Looks like most of the field has gotten through the first couple of turns very cleanly, though.
Yeah, just watching back here in the pack, we've got Thomas McMillan and Scott Solosky, ASM teammates, battling it out there. As I think that's, yeah, McMillan's just gone off the track there, and he's nearly spun in. Wow, that is a bit of a roadblock there he's caused. So they're 3 wide coming down here now. They've cleared that up just about. Number 31 on the outside there has gone off to that. Has created a little bit of trouble there. Coming up to the kink now.
Bo Albert's around.
We've got Bo Albert around in front of the field there.
Oh, goodness me. That is a big smash. And Zach Hanlon was involved in that as well. So a few cars involved in that. That was an incident with Brad Watson. And Watson and Albert, I was noticing, that was what I was trying to draw attention to. They were going extremely hard there. You know, hell for leather through the first couple of turns. And Albert, obviously extremely unhappy because he has disappeared from the circuit. Going side by side with Brad Watson, Adam Briggs trying to get in on there as well. But yeah, Albert just turning in, and Briggs was attempting to go up the inside. That just resulted in a major spin and Albert out.
Yeah, that kink is not really an overtaking spot. You've just got to file in and hope you get a chance up at the corkscrew or later on in the lap. So that was just a bit of, I think, first lap red mist coming over them there. And yeah, unfortunately, that's left Bo Albert gone, and that bad luck for Altus Esports continues on.
Yep, Brodie Whitmore with a black flag from race control, and looks to me like Whitmore has actually stopped on the track and gone back to the pits. I'm not sure what the deal was with that. Were you mentioning on the first lap that Whitmore was involved in an incident or two?
Yeah, personally, I didn't see any of them. I'm not exactly sure what he's been black flagged for there, Reese.
Yeah, I'm going back to take a look. It looks like he's he ended up he spun Dane Warren at the corkscrew. That's what happened. So he was immediately given a black flag. No, sorry, not Dane Warren. Thomas McMillan. My mistake. Tried to move at the corkscrew and went right into McMillan. So race control doing their job once again. As we've seen Jansen losing spots. He's been shuffled majorly wide there coming out of the corkscrew. But he's holding his own at the moment, just in front of JC Richards. Meanwhile, it is on for the lead, Brock, here. Anthony Winkleman and Luis Paulo Gallon are battling very hard. They've actually dropped Peacenik.
Yeah, Peacenik has just dropped, like I said, dropped right off in the distance there. But we've got Winkleman, he's not had the best luck in some of the races here, but now he is the lead Trick Sim Sports car, and he's got to represent them, and he is doing very well at the moment. This is Mercedes versus Mercedes, which negates some of that car difference. So he's really pushing hard at the moment. You can see Gallon in front as well, dipping the tyres off at every opportunity to try and maximise the run off the corners here. Like we said before, the curbs are small, so you just start hitting sand. So he's got to be very careful here, otherwise Winkleman is is going to be able to just slice on by him. That's how close they are. And it feels like Piesnik is getting ever further away from these guys. They have got some massive pace in these Mercedes, even though they're battling.
Yes, certainly. Piesnik struggling, I think, a little in that McLaren over the undulating surfaces of Laguna Seca. But Gallon, you can see, is pushing incredibly hard. Meanwhile, Corey Ott around. Not sure how that eventuated because, well, goodness me, it actually looks like he's lost it on his own coming into the kink.
He's hit the dirt there as he's hit the brakes and spun around, unfortunately. So that was just a mistake all on his own there. Just got a little bit too wide on that outside curbing, and unfortunately that's sent him just about to the back of the field now of our runners that are left out there.
Yes, indeed. So bad luck there for Corey Ott. He's fallen down the order quite a bit, as have a few drivers in these opening laps. But meanwhile, watching Ross Rizzo in hot pursuit of Scott Solovsky, and looks like a move may very well be on soon.
Yeah, I think Scott Solovsky was either defending or he just made a move on Rizzo. So we'll watch these two guys here, because like I said earlier, Rizzo's a smart driver. He's consistent, so he won't go for a move or make the mistake if he doesn't have to. So we'll watch him here for these next couple of laps. Solovsky's pulled off a little bit of a distance there, so now he's safe coming into the corkscrew, provided he gets a good run through here. Doesn't look too bad. He got a bit of dirt on the exit there, but didn't quite go off. So he's pretty safe coming into the corkscrew now. No move there, which is good. Smart move. Rizzo a little bit wider off the apex than what Solovsky was there, so that's just helping him out. It looks like Rizzo might not have the pace just at the moment to take it up to Solovsky, but like we said earlier, and we've got
Zach Hanlon.
Big crash. Wow, that's huge. Track is nearly jammed there as well. Go back and have a look at what happened there. So Hanlon's is breaking in there, and we've actually had a driver behind him.
Gene Fiddies.
He's just gone in there a little bit too hot by the looks of it, and he's hit Hanlon around. And
Hanlon was a sitting duck at that point. The other drivers coming over the hill, they would have been basically blind. They wouldn't have been able to see him. So JC Richards has collected him, as has John Schultz and Benjamin Johnson as well. That was a major traffic jam there, and wow, both Altus esports cars with major issues. Meanwhile, Solovsky and Rizzo, the battle continues between these guys, and they're actually side by side. Have a look at the dive around the outside that Ross Rizzo has attempted here. Solovsky is going to try and defend here. Oh, you can't go side by side through this upcoming turn, guys. You're going to want to be careful here. They're going to try it anyway. Goodness me, Solovsky doing everything right there. Goodness me, there we go. Matt Morris trying his best to take advantage of this situation, but just not able to do it. At least do it cleanly. Have a look at the run that he's got out of the corkscrew, though. Solovsky looks like he's in trouble.
Yeah, well, Solovsky did, like you said, the exact right thing there. He pulled out of that battle to make sure no contact was made, but what that did was it compromised his run up into the corkscrew, which is where Matt Morris came in. Now he's wide. Morris is trying to look for the inside line, but Solovsky goes majorly defensive there. Morris tried to get the run again. Solovsky is seriously struggling here at the moment. He looks like he's already going defensive as we come down the main straight to start lap 6 here at the moment, and they nearly made contact in a straight line there too. Come on, guys, let's not be silly. Morris is going to try hold it around the outside. He's going for the over-under on Solovsky.
Oh, look at that!
He's just about cut the corner there, and it looks like he may have gotten a slowdown from that. We'll wait and see Solovsky now. And Morris, a big drift there. Is he going to be able to hold it? Wow, well done to him. He's nearly spun it, but managed to hold on to that. But that's brought Jackson Harlow into the battle here, and Solovsky is off in the distance at the moment.
Yeah, Matt Morris, he's had quite a few events this season where he's shown, I think, a bit of hot-headedness. Of course, nothing personal there, just my observation. And he certainly tried to take advantage of the move where it was. And I tell you what, if he had managed to pull off that move at the hairpin, I think that would have been a candidate for move of the race, because that seemed very well executed right up until he got to that second apex. But as you say, it's gotten Jackson Harlow into the picture, and Morris will have to try and drop him if he wants any opportunity to try and take Seslowski at the moment. Update from race control: Gene Fiddies has been black flagged for his role in the incident with Zach Hanlon.
Sorry, Reese. I'll just flip to a battle between Corey Ott and Daniel Cheney here. Ott's just gone down the inside of the corkscrew. There's actually quite a bit of bustling going on in the back of the pack here. We've had Briggs go wide at the second last corner, and just up ahead of him, we've got JC Richards, Gene Fiddies, and I believe Benjamin Johnson battling it out in their Mercedes as well. So it's really heating up in the sort of back end of this field.
Yeah, it certainly is. And Andrew Mogridge versus John Schultz coming down the front straight behind them through turn one. Interesting kink right there, and it looks like Schultz has the run. Mogridge carrying a little bit of damage in his pink Ferrari, and meanwhile we got James Keane around. Certainly not an optimal situation for him, and he is staying there. That looks to be at the exit of the infield.
Yeah, so he's spun around. I think that's turn 4 there. So he's just going to have to let just about the whole field pass there. That is such an unfortunate occurrence for him. He's still sitting there, so he may just go back to pit lane. He had the time to get it spun back around, so I'm not exactly sure.
Oh, there we go. He's going now as we look at Peasnick and Watson, who are involved in a battle now. Peasnick just gradually was losing ground to the top two. Now he lost out. Wow, we've actually heard that he's lost 1.3 seconds on that last lap. He is really struggling at the moment, and Brad Watson, I think, will absolutely be loving this. He's all over the back in that Audi.
Yeah, well, Peasnick just doesn't look comfortable, and it could have to do with the hotter track temperatures. I believe qualifying was in morning conditions, so it's definitely going to be a little bit cooler for the drivers. And this McLaren, I think David, who we had a couple of weeks ago, was commenting on the McLaren's tyre usage and the fact that on hotter tracks it tends to go through them a lot more. So whether Peasnick's trying to save them, whether they're just starting to go, after all, we are over halfway through this race, who knows? But he's definitely under threat here from Watson, and not looking horribly comfortable either in that car. He's pushing out wide and not exactly hitting all the apexes at the moment. So be interested to see how he goes here and how Watson goes closing up on him. He closed up a little bit in the corkscrew there as well, but the lead, just to comment on the lead pack there, it's 6.5 seconds back to Peasnick from Luis Paulo Gallen, so about 5.5 back from Winkelmann. That is a crazy gap.
Yeah, especially considering the length of the race. We're only the elapsed time in sim is showing 14 minutes and 20 seconds, so we've got 9 minutes to go in the race, in fact. So in only 10 minutes to pull out a gap like that, that's pretty mega from those guys at the front.
Yeah, and considering they were battling as well at the start of this race and still pulling out a gap. So right now that gap is still only at about 8/10. So Winkelmann is definitely not out of it, but he's not quite within charging distance at the moment. And Peasnick has dropped Watson off just a little bit here, but in the background there, we've actually got Dane Warren thing it out with Martin Silvassi. As they come through now, Warren got quite close to that last corner, and as we come through getting ready to come back up the hill through the kink and the corkscrew, he's a little bit back. Dane, one of the only BMWs in the field as well, so he's sort of in the same boat as John Peasnick in one of those lone runners in the BMW, so we'll keep an eye on him as well. A good couple of battles for him.
Yeah, Dane Warren, though, in the BMW, he is going to be having a much better time at Laguna Seca than Peasnick would. The BMW, traditionally, one of the cars in the GT3 class that is way more suited to these medium speed corners, and it's certainly got a very nice chassis, the BMW. Dane Warren up 1 position, but I wanted to comment on Silvassi. He's actually on a very good run. He's currently running in 5th, started in 12th, so quite nice gains there, but Warren, it seems, is just inching closer lap after lap.
Yeah, that's it. He's just chipping away at it. And, you know, we've got about 6 laps left to go this time round. So I'm not sure if he'll be able to do anything about it, but the pace is promising in that BMW. And like you said, he has made up a position there. But Silvassi, like you said, has shown some great pace and looks good for Trick Sim Sports. In terms of Silvassi and Winkelmann, they've shown some serious speed in this race. Excuse me, and Rizzo is coming up on the back of them as well. So these Trick Sim Sports guys and their Mercedes may be a force to reckon with next race. We'll have to keep an eye on them.
Yeah, certainly will. Silvassi a little bit wide on the entry to that particular turn, and well, you know, you got a driver like Dane Warren behind you. You need to really focus on getting everything right. Dane Warren ran off track a little bit, but he had a good run up that following straight. Have a look at how hard he pushes under the brakes of the corkscrew. Silvassi, little bit of over rotation, didn't quite get the straight run out of the corkscrew that he would have wanted. So Warren, it seems the pressure that Warren is putting on Silvassi may be starting to get to him. Just up ahead of them, though, it looks like Peasnick has actually gapped Watson a bit. Meanwhile, Luis Paulo Gallon in the pits. What on earth is that for?
I have no idea. He's stopping in his pit box, so maybe he didn't fuel the car up enough. Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, he's just done a quick stop and go there. So I don't know whether that was a penalty. Nothing's come up in race control from him, but he has dropped now to what'll probably end up being about 12th or 13th. That is immense for him. He was in a position to take the race win with now 5 laps to go, and it's all gone. So that puts Trick Sim Sports' Anthony Winkleman in the lead of this race with quite a margin back. It's now nearly 6 seconds back to John Peasnick.
That is big. That has major implications on the event result right there. So Anthony Winkleman is going to be basically untroubled in the lead there. And Peasnick, well, I think he would have been a bit disappointed with finishing third after starting second, but it looks like if he can hold off Watson, he will have second in the bag. But that's just more points for everyone in the top 10 to fight for now.
Yeah, that's it. And just pointing out, Peasnick in second and Rizzo's in sixth. So right now, Peasnick is actually going to get quite the nice buffer building from this race anyway. And if he can capitalise that on the next race, he'll have quite the nice buffer coming into the next round to Rizzo. So something to keep an eye on there as well. Obviously, Peasnick hasn't really had the pace, but I guess if we look at the rest of the field, neither have they really. Luis Paulo Gallon and Anthony Winkleman have been the class of the field. No one has been able to make any moves to really touch them the whole race.
Yeah, certainly, which I guess makes it even more disappointing for Gallon. He's now outside the top 10, pressuring Cody Bircher for 10th place. So Gallon will be able to salvage some points out of this, but after being in the lead for as long as he was, that would surely be very disappointing, very demotivating as well. But the race is still going on. We only have a few minutes left in this race before the white flag flies. And really, it's that battle on the verge of the top 10 that I think is the most undecided right now.
Yeah, that's it. We got, like you said, Cody Bircher and Luis Paulo Gallon. Then you've got, Dan King and Jamie McKnight coming up behind them too. So, like you said, it looks like the rest of the field's pretty spread out, although we've got Benjamin Johnson and Mauricio Lastres fighting it out now, coming into the kink here. Lastres has thrown it down the inside, and Johnson has been a very, very gentlemanly racer and let him through there. If I'm honest, if that was me, I would have just gone with it, because that is a gutsy place to throw a move like that. So well done to Johnson for getting out of the way of that and making sure no contact was made.
Yeah, certainly. Mauricio Lastres, he's proven himself to be a very gutsy racer indeed in the events we've seen him race in this series. So that's going to secure him 17th place for now. But Luis Paulo Gallon, just want to bring back to him. He's really not having a good time there behind Cody Bircher. I would have expected him to be all over the back of Bircher, try and make a move, but it just seems he hasn't got the pace that he needs to pressure for the top 10.
Yeah, well, that pit stop will have ruined his rhythm. Even though it's only a short race, a driver will get into that rhythm of understanding their lines and where they're looking. And now what he's got, instead of having clear track, is he's got a car in front of him, a car behind him. The threat of a move from the car behind, because we've got to look at Dan King here. He's not necessarily far away from Luis Paulo Gallon, and Gallon isn't close enough to Cody Bircher to consider a move. So he's got to be on the offensive and defensive here, and that's going to ruin your speed. So we've got coming over the line this next time round, about 2 minutes left to go and about 2 laps, JRT's telling me here. So he's not going to have long to make it work, and if he can get past Bircher, it's going to be hard to bring it up to Jackson Harlow with only a couple of laps to go. Gallon's actually flashing his lights at Bircher, and I'm not sure what he expects Bircher to do. He's got to make his way back past Cody in order to make his way back up the grid.
Yeah, that's exactly right. This is for possession. Flashing the headlights is kind of unnecessary, to be honest. But once again, it's a psychological tactic that we've seen used in the past to try and distract the driver in front, but you know, Cody Bircher obviously having none of it. Meanwhile, it seems that Brad Watson is starting to fall back into the clutches of Silvassi and Warren here, and looks to me like Rizzo is continuing his slow inching towards these guys. Meanwhile, Gallon through on Cody Bircher, and it looks to me like Craig Casper of Tempo Motorsports is having a bit of an awkward time with all of these lapping cars coming through. He had just come out of the pits, I believe, to repair some damage. So, obviously, not a situation you'd like to be in, especially around a track like this where it's so narrow up that run up the hill. But Gallon unleashed. He's already pulled a couple of car lengths on Bircher.
Yeah, that's it. And we're coming around for the last lap now, so Anthony Winkelmann has started that with that nice. He's now got 7.5 seconds back to Peasnick, but we'll have a look here. Yeah, like you said, Gallon's now cleared Bircher, and he's going to try and hunt down Jackson Harlow, but it's going to be a hard ask with 1 lap to go, and the laps are about 1:20 here, so there's not very long left for him to reel in that gap.
Yeah, certainly not. It seems to me like the field is mostly sorted unless we see any hero moves into the last corner. Possibly Tommy Harradine versus Corey Ott yet to be decided, but Anthony Winkelmann just coming out of the corkscrew now. The most mistake-free, I would say, of all the drivers in the field. Was assured a second place, but Luis Paulo Gallon, with his unfortunate unneeded pit stop, means that Winkelmann is going to take a dominant victory here in the first race of the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia here at Laguna Seca. A fantastic win for Winkelmann, and certainly something that Trick will love. John Peasnick crossing the line for second, flashing his lights. Certainly a welcome result for him. Oh, Matt Morris, he's almost losing a spot there to Jackson Harlow, but looks like it's not going to happen, and they're going to cross the line in quick succession, himself, Harlow, and Gallon. Luis Paulo Gallon, how angry would he be with his race?
Yeah, I just want to know what went on there. Yeah, it doesn't seem quite right. Like, he's done these races before, and 20 minutes of fuel isn't even a full tank in these cars. Yeah, it's not even a half a tank. In the DRS GT Sprint Series, they use a half a tank, and that gets them about 30 minutes of driving. So, yeah, I'll be interested to know what went on there. Maybe one of our viewers can shed some light on that for us. But anyway, we've got just about all the field through now. So Anthony Winkelmann, John Peasnick, and Brad Watson are our podium after Luis Paulo Gallon, unfortunately, had what looked to be fuel end up running out on him.
Yes, indeed. Martin Silvassi is going to come home in 4th place. Dane Warren in 5th, with Ross Rizzo in 6th. This result will definitely help Peasnick's championship lead over Rizzo. Scott Solowski coming home in 7th, with Matt Morris in 8th and Jackson Harlow in 9th. All 3 of those guys making very big improvements on their starting positions, and Luis Paulo Gallon is going to recover to finish in 10th.
And in 11th place, up from 25th, a good effort there by Cody Bircher. 12th is Dan King. 13th, Jamie McKnight. 14th, Steve Jansen. 15th, Thomas McMillan after that contact on the first lap that spun him around at the corkscrew. Adam Briggs in 16th. Mauricio Lastres in 17th. Benjamin Johnson 18th. John Schultz 19th. And Corey Ott after that spin is in 20th place.
Yep, Corey just beating out Tommy Harradine for 21st position there. JC Richards finishing in 22nd. Andrew Mogridge, another driver, making a big improvement to finish in 23rd position. With Daniel Cheney coming home in 24th. Cameron Stubber in 25th. Gene Fiddies. Well, it could have been a good race for him, but unfortunately he was landed with a penalty. He'll have to settle for 26th. 27th will go to Zhao Wen Chen. And Matthew Huppert's a lap down. Craig Casper also a lap down. And our retirements from this race, we got James Keane, Zach Hanlon, Brody Whitmore, Bo Albert, and Reese Kasul, curiously, did not take the start, it seems. So that rounds out your field for the first race here. But Brock, we are ready to go almost for race 2 of the night, 25 minutes.
Yeah, so it's a slightly longer race there, which around here will probably equal to another 3 laps, which in terms of cars that have more speed than others, 3 laps can mean the difference between getting that extra position and maybe even getting a win or not. So that'll be really interesting to see. I think we're in for a cooler track as well. So we might see the likes of John Peasnick come back to the fore a bit and take that battle up to those guys in the front because his tyres and the car might work a bit better under him. But I'm really curious to see the speed, particularly of those Trick Sim Sports guys. Silvassi and Winkleman had some great speed on them there towards the end. Rizzo, we didn't see much of him in the race. He still made up a few positions there, which is good to see, but he's just his usual consistent self. In last season, he didn't grab that many wins. He still got the number 1 on his car, and it's there for a reason. So I'm really interested, and I think this split sprint format really adds a different mindset as well, because these guys have to go from being they have to go from a hotter track to a cooler track, and also have to think to themselves, they have to reset again and go for another race start, get back into that rhythm again. And that's where you get the difference between some drivers and others, in that those that can reset mentally and get ready to go again quickly will be the ones that come to the fore in this next 25-minute race.
Yes, indeed. And we hope you join us for that next 25-minute race. It's coming up very, very soon. Don't go away. This is the iRacing Esports Network, the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia. Back in a sec.
3, 2, 1.
Last year I was sitting at a desk as a sales manager, and now I'm official McLaren F1 simulator test driver.
So there's 1.4 behind.
This opportunity is huge.
That's faster than the factory McLaren driver, and he's done 6 laps.
Let's go race.
So what are you afraid of? Those feelings are made up. For anyone asking who is the best, we putting our hands up.
4 more kilometers. Oh, there we go! They touched!
This time, like the last time, I'm moving so fast, I'm ready to ride.
Frankie! Down to the inside, and Hookie's off!
Passenger throws the block, and he will keep him behind him.
My time. None of you people can tell me to stop. Lower the lights down, hand over my crown, hand over my heart. I do this for my town, I do this for my crowd. So turn me up real loud.
So, you want to race in NASCAR. The road starts here. Introducing the eNASCAR Ignite Series powered by iRacing. This is the gateway for all aspiring 13 to 16-year-olds. Starting June 20th, ignite your dreams of one day racing in the top tiers of NASCAR. Go to www.iracing.com/ignite for full details.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.
Welcome back, one and all, to the iRacing Esports Network. This is the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia, presented by ourselves, V8s Online. We are getting ready for race 2 of the night, 25 minutes to cap off the evening. Currently in the practice session, and we have a very cool track in comparison to the last race. My name is Reese Gardner once again, and joining me in the commentary box, Brock Cat-Eye. Brock, it looks much cooler out there now. We're in the late afternoon.
Yeah, you can say that again. These guys might actually have a pleasurable racing experience out there with a bit more grip. So, yeah, obviously expect much faster lap times with the cooler track out there, and probably a bit more racing with the grip being higher. We can probably see guys trying to go around the outside of turn 1 and 2 there, that sort of that double apex first 2 turns and turn 3. So I'll be interested to see. We might see some gutsier moves as well. With that grip higher, tends to mean that the guys get a bit more confident in the way their car can react to braking, and they just throw it down the inside. So hopefully, last race was good. Not too much carnage, and the field spread out a bit in the end there, so hopefully these cooler track temps keep them all nice and tight. We can see some good racing.
Yes, indeed. Also joining us in the commentary box for this race, Mr. David Haynes from Team Huge Ass. David, do you have us?
I do. I'm here, fellas. How we doing?
doing very, very well. Apologies for missing out on you during the first race. I was not aware that you were available, so that's kind of embarrassing for me.
Look, if you're embarrassed to be seated with me, that's all right. I won't take it too personally. It's probably for the best.
Goodness me, the self-deprecation is real in the commentary box tonight. Well, David, we're coming up to the end of this practice session in a 25-minute race around Laguna Seca. We saw the way the different GT3 cars handled this circuit. How do you think the cooler conditions are going to affect certain cars in the field?
Well, these shorter races, we didn't see John Piesnik really struggle too much. He fell back a little bit in that McLaren, but then sort of found a rhythm and started pulling away. He did well. One of the things I'm going to have my eye on is that mistake from Luis Paulo Gallon, presumably with his fuel strategy in the first race. That's cost him positions then, but it's also shuffled back his starting position for this race. So even if he gets everything right in this race, he's lost his good qualifying position, and he's got a lot of work to do in these short 25 minutes.
He certainly has. I mean, Gallon, we know he has a bit of a reputation as a very Senna-esque overtaker. You know, if there's a gap, he will 110% go for it, and he always drives at 110%, does Mr. Gallon. So it'll be interesting to see if he manages to make his way up the field in a race like this, but I'll tell you what, everyone else will be well aware of the fact that these races are very short, and they will be driving super hard as well to try and maintain those positions. So with 20 seconds to go in the practice session, guys, we certainly think that Anthony Winkleman is going to have a chance at a double win tonight, surely.
Yeah, definitely. He had pace in that race, and he, like I said earlier in the first race there, the pace that he and Gallon were showing was on another level to the guys behind him. So if his car is still set up in a similar manner and the pressures and everything are okay for the race, expect him to run off into the distance like he did before, particularly if he doesn't have much competition. He may just be able to run away with this and leave any carnage behind him. So I'll be curious to see how that goes.
Yeah, agree with you there, Brock. I reckon once Gallon was out of the picture, that gap that he had was still 7 or so seconds back to the other guys. If he's got that pace, Gallon's still going to be starting from further back in the field. He could get a gap and get on with this race.
He certainly could. Well, the race session is go, so just as a refresher, we will take you through the grid for this race. It is the results from the last race, and these are the grid spots as follows. Anthony Winkleman starting, of course, in first position. John Piesnik in second. Brad Watson starting from third. Martin Silvassi from fourth place, with Dane Warren starting in fifth. Ross Rizzo in sixth. He's going to have to do a bit of work if he wants to try and keep that championship close between himself and Piesnik. Scott Solovsky in seventh. Matt Morris in eighth. I'll be interested to see what he can do. Very aggressive overtaker as well. Jackson Suslan Harlow in ninth. And the guy that we will definitely be watching, Luis Paulo Gallon, starting in 10th place.
And in 11th tonight, we have Cody Bircher, who made up 14 spots in that last race. There's some great pace from him. Dan King in 12th, Jamie McKnight 13th, Steve Jansen 14th, Thomas McMillan in 15th, 16th is Adam Briggs, 17th Maurizio Lastres, 18th is Benjamin Johnson, 19th John Schultz, and rounding out the top 20 for this race, Corey Ott.
Tommy Harradine is going to start in 21st position. JC Richards in 22nd. Andrew Mogridge starting in 23rd in the pink Ferrari. Daniel Shenny in 24th. 25th, Cameron Stubber. Gene Fiddy starting in 26th. He'll want to make good of his night after a penalty in race 1 robbed him of a potential result. Zhao Wen Chen in 27th. Matthew Huppert's 28th. And rounding out your 30-car field here, Craig Casper and James Keane. The field making their way around the infield section of the circuit now, and it will all be on Anthony Winkleman to try and make this a double win. But with the cooler track temperatures, what can John Piesnik do? That is what I am curious to see. Watson definitely a factor in this as well.
Yeah, well, Peacenik, he's a bit of a wizard with these cars that nobody else wants to touch. So with the likes of the Ford GT, he made that work for him. Now he's got the McLaren. So like David was saying a couple of weeks ago, as well as just earlier on the McLaren, that he manages to milk the pace out of it. With that cooler track, the tyres might not go off as much, and that could be all he needs. Get a good start, and he'll be gone. So I'm really interested to see how this goes. John Peacenik starting from the front row there as well, right side by side with Winkleman. So if he gets a good jump, could all be on down into turn 1 and 2.
It certainly could, but I guess we got to remember, cast our minds briefly back to the start of race 1, how early Gallon went. And that really caught the other guys out, and Peacenik did not get the best start. He actually got pipped on the opening run down to turn 1. So he's going to be watching Anthony Winkleman like a hawk. So they're coming down into the final turn now. Peacenik actually hanging back a bit there from Winkleman, probably just to get a better judge on when he's going to go. Pace car in, around the final turn they go, and Winkleman already away, and Peacenik has been pipped at the start once again, or has he? He's actually gotten a very good run there on Watson, but he's going to be on the outside into turn 1. So they're going to dive in. Peacenik trying his best to go around the outside, almost doing what Zach Hanlon did in race 1. So he's going to have to settle for third once again, under pressure from Dane Warren. Meanwhile, back in the pack, Jamie McKnight looks like is having a couple of issues, trying his best to try and find his place in this frenetic pack. Running side by side behind him, Mauricio Lastres and Corey Ott. And they have really slowed each other up.
Whoa! Back, big moment there, back in the pack there. I'm not sure who that was there.
Oh, Matt Morris, contact with Luis Paulo Gallon, it seems. Gallon just not with much of a run out of the corner, and Morris went right into the back of him. So that could prove potentially problematic for Gallon coming into the rest of this race, but currently, up the front, Anthony Winkleman. Have a look at the lead he's got already. That is immense.
Yeah, I don't know what Peacenik was doing on that start there, but he started back with Watson, not with Winkleman there. So that was a bit weird there, but now that's left Peacenik's actually vulnerable right now to Dane Warren, who's trying to come up alongside him coming down the main straight here, and he's looking. Warren's going to have to stick it in behind there. Peacenik covered him off very well coming into turn 1 there, but all of this battling is letting Watson just get ahead. And like you said, Winkleman, he's already got a 1.6 second gap back to Watson. He is out of here. Don't expect to see him for the rest of the night because he's got the pace to keep going. And we'll keep watching this battle pack here of Watson, Peacenik and Warren. Watson runs wide there, so Peacenik is going to try to take it around the outside here, and he's right alongside there. He's actually swept around the outside and is going to gather Watson up. So Watson's still there or thereabouts. Surely he won't try and move down here. And there was slight contact there between Warren and Watson coming into the king. Watson slightly wide as they go back up the hill here. That has brought Silvassi right into that Trick Sim Sports car, and they're coming into the corkscrew now. No overtaking here, guys. Come on, don't want any crashes. That's good. Everyone gets down there. Silvassi and Rizzo now well and truly in this battle. Watson slow off the corner there, and now Warren alongside, wide off the corner there. Silvassi's going to try and take advantage of this. Warren is going to be able to stick it there. Watson looks to have got his slow down to the corkscrew, dropping back quite a ways in the pack, and that's settling down just a little bit now. Watson side by side with Solowski coming into the last turn.
Yes, indeed. So Solovsky with that better run, of course. I say it every single time we got a GT3 race, but it's worth repeating. The Mercedes, excellent out of those slow acceleration zones, and he is well and truly ahead of Watson now. Or is he running a little bit wide through the middle of the second turn? Watson had a bit of a chance at sticking it up the inside, but I think wisely he chose not to. So
we've got Jansen around in the background there. Sorry, Reese, but he's just spun around, and we've got contact as well. Oh no, that was so close there. I think that was we had another car come wide there. Benjamin Johnston, I think it was. No, JC Richards. Sorry, guys. JC Richards got punted out wide and nearly hit Steve Jansen as well. That was very, very close.
Yeah, certainly. That happened when John Schultz actually went off, coming out of the Andretti hairpin, and JC Richards obviously turning in, thinking that Schultz would be further to the inside, but Schultz himself was defending from Gene Fiddies, who was trying to get a slice of that pie. So those guys have managed to somewhat sort themselves out, but Johnson and Schultz with quite a bit of damage. Meanwhile, we are looking at Jamie McKnight and Dan King. This is the battle for 15th position. Dan King really searching for a move up the inside. They got quite a gap to Cody Bircher up ahead, so it's a quad Mercedes train. I'm seeing a guy going wide at the last turn. That is JC Richards, really wide there at the gravel trap. It just looks to me like he braked way too late for the last turn. Just went straight off, so more positions lost for him. But this battle with Jamie McKnight at the head of it, 4 Mercedes battling for their place on the track. It looks to me like Dan King, he is searching all over for the potential of a move on the ERT driver, but he's overshot, he's overcooked it, he's overcorrected over everything and into the wall. Dan King, major damage to that car, I would presume.
Yeah, so he's doing a bit of a burnout here now, just doing some donuts on the track there, so he's gone back off again. It'll keep going, but it'll be interesting to see whether he just pulls into the pit lane. Car looks a little bit banged up, so we'll see whether his steering has got any damage there, and he's just spun again coming through the kinks, so I think that's race over for him. He's back into the wall, so it's yeah, not looking good there.
No, certainly not. I'm looking at positions 21 to 24th or thereabouts. Cameron Stubber having to defend quite hard from a charging Tommy Harradine here. Stubber with only a little bit of damage on his Ferrari, so he's had an all right run so far, making up a few positions from his start. But Tommy Harradine, you can see.
Sorry, Reese, we've just had Thomas McMillan spin around Jackson Harlow.
Oh dear, that is certainly not optimal. Harlow just getting going again, nice and cleanly, but replay on screen presented by CPR Kart Parts. It looks to me like, you know, that was almost a move. McMillan just firing it straight up the inside, but obviously not far up enough to make the move committed, and so Harlow straight around. Real shame for him. As we go back live, get the feeling there might be a penalty coming McMillan's way as a result of that.
Yeah, maybe. And we've got Modric, we have Stubber and Harradine side by side coming into the corkscrew now. This is a nice little battle pack they've got going here. We had the 2 cars ahead of them going side by side as well as they came through the kink there. So behind Stubber here, we've actually got a nice little battle developing.
Yeah.
Just having a look here, JC Richards is fighting his way back through after that contact that pushed him wide, and he's all over the back of that Force India liveried Ferrari and just not able to make his way past. Doesn't get quite the run he would have wanted off that corner there, actually.
Yeah, certainly not. And that's JC Richards with an excellent run there on Andrew Mogridge. The question is, will he be able to try and take him around the outside at turn 1? Andrew Mogridge a bit earlier on the brakes, JC Richards firing it in there, and Mogridge just trying his best to find a space on track, but he will have to yield to Richards there. So JC is looking to make good on his result once again. He's got a couple of mid-engine cars ahead of him, though, who are looking quite hot-headed. Meanwhile, up the front, this is the battle for 5th place. Car number 1, Ross Rizzo versus Luis Paulo Gallon, and Rizzo having made up 1 position on his start, but Gallon, once again, doing basically what I think we all expected him to do and make up a few positions in those opening laps. So Rizzo with a better result, exit out of the last turn. No chance for Gallon to try and pressure him here, but tell you what, this will be an interesting matchup here. One of the most conservative drivers in the field versus one of the most aggressive. I'm interested to see how it goes.
Yeah, and boys, Thomas McMillan's word from race control, a drive-through for him, that contact that spun around, who was it again?
Jason Harlow.
Yeah, correct. And here about Rizzo and Luis Paulo Gallon, I want to say, in the first race, Paulo Gallon had the pace to be with Anthony Wilkinson, who is marching away in the race lead now. He's got to be at least the 2nd fastest car out there as Luis Paulo Gallon. So it's really not that much of a surprise. He's marched his way up through the field a little bit and is looking to get that overtake done on Ross Rizzo sometime soon.
Yeah, certainly. Maybe a little whiff of a move at the corkscrew, but it's not generally a popular overtaking spot. You can see a much tighter line from Gallon trying to get that exit. Oh, over the bumps, over the curbs, and that is Luis Paulo Gallon in one single fraction of a second, I think. He certainly built a reputation around the Australian sim racing community for giving it his all 100% of the time. But Ross Rizzo is managing to stay ahead of him here.
Yeah, well, Ross is a cool head. And over to you, Brocky.
Yeah, so I was just about to say, he is managing to stay ahead. Like you said, David, he does have a cool head, and we've said Rizzo is consistent, whereas you can see Gallon is throwing the car around, and if it works, awesome. But then he has moments like that that nearly put him out of the race, and that's the difference. Rizzo, I'm betting, will likely concede this position if Gallon goes for it, and Gallon had a nice little look then as well down the inside, and that's actually ruined his run into the kink here. So a move that probably was never on there. He's trying to play that mental game that we talk about just about every week. And Gallon's gone wide. Gallon's gone way wide there. He's kept the foot in it, though, to get back onto the track there. So now he's back, and we're having a look at Solowski and Silvassi just behind them now, coming down into the corkscrew. This battle has really livened up. So now Solowski down through the corkscrew there. Silvassi right on the back of him. Two Mercedes fighting it out here, that ASM car as well as the Trick Sim Sportsmobile. Through the second last corner here. Big spot for a move here if Silvassi's close enough. Not quite. He's going to have to try getting that draft down the straight here and make a move in turn one. Got to be careful as well. Brad Watson not too far behind here. A good run from Silvassi there to come out behind Solowski. He looks like he's got quite a good run coming down into the first turn here. Will he try and make that move? No, he won't. Solowski's moved it over just a little bit, and they're going to stay line astern for the time being here.
Yes, indeed, and that's a very good tactic there by Solowski to just continue edging towards the inside of that hairpin. It's one of those turns that has multiple lines through it, and it's very easy to defend through there when you've got a car attacking you. So in this three-car battle, I'm definitely interested to see what Watson can do, because he certainly showed that he has the pace to be finishing on the podium, but here he is fighting for 6th place. He's currently in 8th, so if he wants to try and get further up, he's going to have to... Oh, well, I'll tell you what, he won't want to do that too many times again soon, because that's really made him lose his momentum coming down the hill.
Yeah, I'll let you take this one here, David.
Yeah, thanks. Watson got just way too late on the stoppers there. You can see he's struggling to get it stopped. And I think Martin Silvassi ahead of him was very lucky that he wasn't any deeper on the brakes, because Brad Watson would have hit Martin Silvassi.
For sure. Looking back further in the field, I'm actually interested to see how 25th and 26th pans out, because Xiaowen Chen and Daniel Cheney are actually embroiled in a little battle of their own here, I guess proving that it doesn't matter where you are in the field, there's always someone to fight.
Yeah, I'll get you. Sorry, my internet's being a bit funny with the server, David. I'll get you to take this one, mate.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, exactly right there, Reese. That's really good to have this 30-car field that wherever you find yourself, there is battles for 4th and 5th, 6th through to 8th, 9th and 10th, and back here, 25th and 26th, these two Mercedes going for it. You can get inside TV show Chen and Chenny.
Of course. Ross Rizzo, we're looking at the moment, versus Luis Paulo Gallon once again. Oh my goodness, David.
Yeah, one thing to say about Luis Paulo Gallon's Mercedes, I've been watching the body language of that car. It's a very oversteery car. He can chuck it in, but the rear tires slide. It hurts his traction out of the corners a little bit, and it's leading us to that style of driving where he's quick through some corners, and we've got some little mistakes happening. But I'm sure it allows him to get late on the brakes and still turn it in and get to that apex, even if it's maybe a messier setup or driving style.
Yeah, certainly. It's one of those. I'd say this is very Prost and Senna-esque. We're seeing the style of driving that these two guys are. Rizzo being Prost and Gallon being Senna, of course. Gallon with a picture of Ayrton Senna on the bonnet of his Mercedes, so you can definitely see where he gets his inspiration from. Thomas McMillan in the pits, though. That's looking pretty interesting. He's not, he's actually, oh, he's out of the car. So
he already served his penalty, so that has to be for something else.
Yeah. We're going to get a replay of that. McMillan has manually disconnected from the server, so obviously not something that he would have intended. Oh, it looks like he's turned it round coming down the hill, and looks like he has just had enough. Meanwhile, we're looking once again at the battle between Gallon and Rizzo, and it's a good point that you raised there, David. Gallon is really putting everything on his entry into the corners. He is standing on those front end tires like nobody's business coming into the corners, and then really struggling with the rears on the exit. Actually, he got an all right run out of the hairpin there. So Rizzo, I think, would be starting to feel the pressure if it weren't for Gallon doing things like that. He's just losing out on the exit on those medium speed corners. That's what's hurting him.
Yeah, Rizzo's not letting himself get distracted too much by the car behind. Even though he's not getting a lightning run through many of these corners, he's getting just enough of an exit out of all of them, carrying the momentum smoothly, that even though Gallon can get deep on the brakes, and he might do so up here, he wasn't quite getting a run until now.
Yeah, certainly. He's having a bit of a look here, is Gallon, right at the inside of the corkscrew, and that is well and truly move done. And Brock, you were proven right there. Rizzo just did not fight that at all. He knew what was at stake there. No point in defending a move like that. So Gallon now through to 5th place, and Rizzo, well, Gallon is not gapping Rizzo as quickly as I would have thought he would. So Rizzo still has a chance here, but I think he might just tuck in behind here.
Yeah, so I've got the server back up here now, and I did see that move. And like I said earlier, Rizzo isn't going to risk losing all those championship points just because someone's thrown a move down the inside. And that comparison you make between really accurate for that. We're going to go back and have a look at Solosky here. We've got a bit of a pack developing with Silvassi and Watson. We saw that was starting to get a little bit exciting earlier on, and now Watson is right up behind Silvassi. So Solosky's got a nice little gap here, a little bit of a safe section, but Watson's right up behind. He's having a look now. He nearly went down the inside of Silvassi there, just sticking his nose up, letting the headlights be shown that he is right there. So these guys are going to come through the kink now. So, Solosky again, a nice little gap here. They've spaced out a little bit. Watson didn't exactly get the run after having that awkward entry into the last turn there. So now coming up in the corkscrew here, can't imagine anyone will throw a Luis Paulo Gallon style pass down the inside, and they don't. So it's just going to be line astern for the time being. But in the background as well, we've actually got Matt Morris and Adam Briggs, by the looks of it, quite close as well.
Yes, indeed. Adam Briggs, slower on the last lap than Matt Morris by a couple of tenths. So that's obviously not what he would like. Adam Briggs starting in 16th, but running in 10th. So he's actually having quite a good run at the moment. Matt Morris, though, losing a position from his start of 8th and running very wide through the middle of the hairpin there. So that's one thing that you need to start looking out for, as Silvassi is now closer to Scott Kozlowski than he was before. The cars are pretty much equidistant at the moment, line astern. They haven't got much time left though. Kozlowski with a good exit though. Watson running a little wide. These guys are well aware, acutely aware, that they are running out of time to get these moves done.
Yeah, that's it. So we can see that Solosky's doing just enough at the moment to keep clear of Silvassi, and Silvassi clear of Watson, although in that Audi he does have some quite good braking performance, you notice, particularly in the corkscrew there. So Silvassi seems to be able to catch Solosky at all the wrong points and then loses out that time again. So I'll be interested to see here. Watson actually very wide there in the background. He's actually gone off the track there, so Morris is going to come round and try and gather him up. He's actually going to try and get the run onto the main straight. He just tried to throw it in and get some traction down. Did not quite work for him there, but Watson has now dropped right off the back of Salvasi and Solowski and is under threat from Matt Morris at the moment.
Yeah, certainly. And we know that Matt Morris is another one of those drivers that if he gets even a little hint of a move, he will certainly go for it. Going to get a replay at the moment, though, of something that's happened to Tommy Harradine, and he is currently in the pits, so not too sure what's going on with him. He's actually lost it all by himself, just getting over that anti-cut curb at the kink, and that's well and truly unsettled the car in the wall and out of the race.
Exactly, he's hit that big red curb on the inside. It's jumped the car up in the air. He's gone straight, and then when it's landed, it's cut him across.
Yeah, Warren, Dane Warren just passing John Piesnik. Sorry, guys, I only just noticed that. That only happened in the last couple of seconds. And Brad Watson is around too. Oh, it's all gone off at the moment. Brad Watson back in the pits. So we're going to get replays of those incidents. It looks to me like Watson, he did the same thing that Harradine did off the anti-cut curb and around he went. But Dane Warren versus John Piesnik, that is certainly an interesting one. It looks to me like Piesnik just did not. Yeah, that's interesting. He just did not get any kind of a run.
He's losing it out to Luis Paul Gallen now. He's let him through as well. John Piesnik, I'm not sure if there's like a huge problem or...
He might be, we've just had our director Jay Kennedy make a good point saying that he may have been prepped for a 20-minute race, not a 25-minute. We made this point at the end of the last race. This race is about 3 laps longer, roughly 3 to 4 laps longer than the last race. So he looks to be doing some serious fuel saving as one of his main championship rivals, Ross Rizzo, passes it. So
this is big.
He has just lost out to his championship rival, and depending on how far back he goes, this could mean everything in terms of the championship chase. You cannot give up points like this. And we made this point earlier. It's a longer race tonight. And it looks like he's just dropping at the moment. And we've got Gene Fiddies is now in the fence as well. Not sure what's happened to him there.
What is going on out there, Fallon? All turning up all of a sudden.
I know, we've got 3 minutes and 40 seconds left on the clock here, and Fiddy's actually disappeared off my screen and then reappeared in the wall. So he's done some Houdini magic there and ended up with his race ending.
The genie with magic and creative ways to end his race, unfortunately. It's not the magic you'd want to pull out of the hat. The shorter race here than the regular standard races with the split sprint. We didn't say, guys, save all the excitement for the last 3 laps.
Yeah, I get the feeling that quite a few guys may have been not just physically but mentally preparing for another 20-minute race, because in these last few minutes, it's like, oh, the race is over. Everything's just going to completely go off in these last few laps. I was not expecting this at all. Once again, the series just continues to turn it up.
So, a recap, John Piesnik potentially fuel-saving massively. Gene Fiddies in the wall, Harradine in the wall. Ross Rizzo passes the championship leader to potentially reverse that championship standings, or at least close the gaps. We've got about 2 laps left to go.
Yep, can't forget Watson as well. He was running very well, but then it all fell apart for him in the last couple of laps, getting off that anti-cut curb in the middle of the circuit. Meanwhile, John Piesnik about to get passed by Scott Solowski. We are 100% sure of that, and tell you what, 2 laps to go. How would you be in John Piesnik's position? I think this has been his championship so far. There's been these flashes of absolute brilliance and great dominance, but it's fallen apart for him at the most critical of times, and now he is languishing in the lower reaches of the top 10, far away from where I think anyone should say that he should be, and he's dropping like a fly.
Yep, every single position he loses here is painful stuff. He's just had Szydlowski come through, Silvassi's come through, and now Matt Morris and Adam Briggs are lining up to take another position away from him.
Well, that's it. And the next car behind Adam Briggs is actually, what have we got here? Jamie McKnight, but he's about 9 or 10 seconds behind. So this could be Peasnick's finishing position, provided he doesn't run out of fuel. If he runs out of fuel, that is catastrophic for his championship. So he's really gone into, this is minus 100% Jamie Whincup style at Bathurst. He's really just got to be rolling off the throttle. I bet you down this hill section, he's not even using the throttle. He is just rolling down the hill to try and save as much fuel as possible. So he's dropping, he's in the pits now, he's coming into the pits. So this is going to be, he's going to finish the race, but this will drop him probably back down to around 14th or 15th once he comes out of the pits. So this is major championship implications for him. And the same mistake, I might add, that we saw Luis Paulo Gallen make last race.
Wow. Honestly, he tried to keep up the fight, did Peasnick, but he just could not get it done. Well, I believe our leader is on the final lap of his race, Anthony Winkleman, coming up through the corkscrew once again, completely untroubled. And I tell you what, his position in the championship will certainly be better off for it. And actually got some news that Gene Fiddies has actually had some pretty major technical difficulties that resulted in his run into the wall, but Anthony Winkleman crossing the line to take an incredible double victory here at Laguna Seca. What a run from that guy. Just absolutely untouchable from the get-go.
Yeah, he was race one. Once he was out in front, Luis Paulo Gallen obviously needed that fuel, and he went in, and Winkleman was gone. And this race, he's finished 11 seconds ahead of Dane Warren. That is massive in a short sprint race like this. And Matt Morris out of fuel, coughing and spluttering, and he might lose another spot here. It looks, no, sorry, that was a lap car there, my mistake, guys, but he's lost a spot there to Adam Briggs after battling all race, and now he's just coming to a stop on the main straight here. To come so close and then not make it and lose that spot, that's going to hurt a little bit.
Yeah, we've got to say, great job actually by Luis Paulo Gallen to work his way back up into third place, is where he's finished this race.
Yeah, certainly. That's the kind of drive that that we would expect from a driver like Gallon. He got off on the back foot coming out of race one, but he managed to salvage a podium out of it, which is certainly a good way to cap off the night. But Anthony Winkleman making his grand tour around the circuit. Martin Silvasti, his teammate, flashing his lights behind him. Big celebration for the Trick Sim Sports guys. So celebratory, in fact, that he's gone completely off the circuit and into the gravel trap. But that was certainly a race for the championship story at large. Results on screen, Anthony Winkleman winning the race. Dane Warren finishing second. Fantastic stuff from him. Luis Paulo Gallen recovering from 10th to finish third. Excellent stuff from him. Ross Rizzo, 4th place here, and it's certainly going to help his championship campaign. Scott Kozlowski in 5th, Martin Silvasti in 6th, Adam Briggs in 7th, Matt Morris in 8th position, Jamie McKnight making his way up to 9th. Good result for him. And rounding out the top 10, Cody Bircher.
Yeah, and in 11th place we had Maurizio Lastres, 12th is Jackson Harlow, 13th Steve Jansen, 14th Corey Ott, 15th John Schultz, John Peasnick, 16th, 14 positions down on where he started after that mistake there. That is such a shame for him. 17th, Cameron Stubber, Benjamin Johnson in 18th, Andrew Mogridge 19th, and rounding out our top 20 here tonight, Daniel Cheney.
Zhao Wen Chen is the first driver to finish a lap down in 21st position, along with Craig Casper, Matthew Huppets, and Gene Fiddies. One of our first retirements. Brad Watson, another retirement. We are truly getting into ruined night territory here. Tommy Harradine, JC Richards ending up retiring from the race. That is a shame. We saw him going very well to recover from his early dramas. McMillan retiring as well. Shame for him. James Keane as well. Dan King, how would you be in his position? He was definitely challenging for some consistent positions too. But that's your 30-car field. And now we move on to what will be our driver interviews. And the first of them is going to be Trick Sim Sports' Anthony Winkleman. Anthony, a double win tonight. You must be absolutely stoked.
Yeah, completely wrapped, boys.
coming into this round, obviously this track seemed to be something of a Mercedes track.
Yeah, it was sort of, we went into this one with a little bit of the unknown. We hadn't seen anyone doing laps, and so we just sort of created a bit of a car, and not sure where we stood pace-wise, but yeah, look, we luckily we did a lot of our laps in the hot weather, so the car was to suit the first race, and then yeah, it was unbelievable and cold too, so happy with it.
Yeah, you certainly seem you sound very tired, Anthony. You must have put in a bunch of effort to try and get these wins as dominantly as possible, and everyone else seemed to just fall apart around you.
Oh, to be honest, mate, it's been a hell of a start of the season for me. I've had just stuff go wrong after stuff go wrong, so to actually jag a win and have reasonable pace, it's good to be back, that's for sure.
Must certainly be. Well, before we let you go, Anthony, who gets it done for you?
I'd just like to thank Trick Custom Fabrications and Night Rider Designs. Of course, you guys for the broadcast and the whole GLA crew for hosting the series.
Anthony Winkleman there, your race winner. We will hopefully talk to him again at the next round of the series at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. The next driver that we will be bringing in is the second place finisher in race 2, Dane Warren. Dane, it was a pretty good night for you. 5th in race 1 and a 2nd in race 2.
Yeah, not many complaints here besides the BMW being the BMW in race 1, but I'm very happy with the 2nd.
The BMW being the BMW in race 1, can you go into more detail about that?
The tyres dropped off very early and just had no front grip whatsoever, so struggled a lot through the high speed in the back half of the track.
Well, you definitely came home with a good result in race 2, and I guess looking at John Peasneck's incident that he ended up having certainly will be interesting for the championship fight. But with a 2nd place here, certainly your championship will see some improvement.
Yeah, I'm not sure where I'm standing at the moment. I haven't done too much research, but hopefully if we stay consistent, we can hopefully grab a podium at the end of the season, but we'll see.
Well, we'll see what happens, Dane. It's certainly going to be an interesting one from here on out. Before we let you go, who would you like to thank?
Yeah, just a quick thank you to RackCorp, Cash-Centric, and Sim Racing Collectibles.
Thank you very much, Dane. We hope to see you again at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit. That brings to a conclusion our driver interviews for tonight. And my goodness, guys, what a fantastic round that was. Brock, race 2. You know, race 1 certainly was consistent in terms of action, but race 2 ramped it up right at the end.
Oh, that's for sure. Race 1, like you said, you know, it was a bit of a quieter race compared to what we're used to. A couple of big moments, but yeah, race 2, wow, it went off, and particularly in that last 5 minutes, like David was saying, he rattled off everything we had happen within the space of 2 of the last 4 laps, and I couldn't believe it. Like he basically just rattled off a full race's worth of events in the space of 2 laps, and that was awesome. Like that's the racing we love to see, and you know, it's unfortunate for John Peasnick to have that fuel run out, but now that spices things up coming into round 5 and the last rounds of this championship. You know, when you think about it, we're 2 weeks away from halfway through this championship. I can't believe that. And for Peasnick to have a mistake made like that, that does not bode well for him coming into the rest of this championship, particularly when Rizzo was so consistent again in this race. He was just there. He let Gallon past, but he didn't crash, and he's just picked up a good lot of points, and that's going to help him.
Yeah, for sure. David, another round of the championship down and out, but that championship battle up the front, certainly. Peasnick has a lot of work to do if he wants to set that right.
Yeah, indeed. He was sitting well in the first race, did what he needed to do then, but then just with the strategy and the fuel amount, it's come undone in the second race for John Peasnick. It shows you just what good operators Trick Sim Sports have been and why they win championships like this, not on absolute, oh my goodness, how did they set a lap that quick, but just on getting all of the little things right so that when someone else has a bad day, they have a good day.
Yeah, they certainly do, and it will definitely show in the championship standings after this race. Well, that brings to an end proceedings for tonight, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Brock, I cannot wait for the next round at the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit, but we got the Porsches to look forward to next week.
Yeah, well, I believe David will be driving in them, so it'll be interesting to see him out there. But we saw some good action, and the Porsches. The great thing about the Porsches is how equal they are across the board because of the fact that they all run, they're a similar car, not much you can do in the way of setup, so it's all down to the driver. So I'll be interested to see. Track conditions will play a part. So yeah, I'm curious. I'm excited for it.
Yes, indeed. David, Porsche at Laguna Seca, are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, absolutely. Compared to these GT3 cars, that Porsche Cup car, no ABS, a lot longer braking distances, a bit more fiddly under brakes. That'll come into play places like Andretti hairpin early in the lap, corkscrew, and especially down the hill in the later part of the lap. Tune in for that one, everyone, because it's going to be good. I believe I'm currently 5th in the championship for that one, so fingers crossed for me, boys, but don't play too much of favorites.
Yes, indeed. Well, update everyone on what we've got coming up in the next week or so on V8's Online and on the iRacing Esports Network. On Friday on V8's Online, we have the Australian Online Supercar Championship at Monza. On Sunday, here on the iRacing Esports Network, we've got the V8 Supercar Online Premier Series at Monza. That's the Italian 250. Be sure to keep a lookout for that. On Monday, we've got the iRacing official V8 Supercar Series at Monza as well. So it's Monza Mania if you're driving the iRacing V8 Supercar. Of course, we have the Porsche Super Cup Australasia at Laguna Seca next Wednesday. Next Friday, Australian Online Supercar Championship at Spa. And then the Sunday after this, we have got a double whammy. The Oceanic Endurance Championship at Suzuka and the International Majors Division, the Pocono 400 in the IndyCar. So it's a pretty stacked next couple of weeks here on V8's Online and on the iRacing Esports Network. Make sure to subscribe to both channels on YouTube and follow us, V8's Online, on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Also go to v8online.com for who we are and Goss from the Australia-New Zealand community. Thanks very much for watching, everybody. This has been the Geodesic Racing Sprint Series Australasia on the iRacing Esports Network. We'll see you next time.
The following is a presentation of the iRacing Esports Network.